evening for the first time tonight. Wow. Okay. Oh, brilliant. That's very encouraging. I need to know what's the best way for outreach. So put up your hand if you discovered about tonight for the first time on the internet. A few. And how many of you found out about it in some other way? Okay, one at once. Give me... Huh? Oh, yeah. That was a personal connection. Yeah. He's the bike shop man. Anyone wants a bike fixed? Watford Bicycles in Queens... No, is it Queens Road? Good chap. Give him a shot. Bicycle man, Steve. It was worth coming, wasn't it? Worth coming. Did you bring the staff? Okay, one assistant. You should have brought the rest of the guys. Okay, another question. How else did you come? Was it local newspaper? Someone shout out how they came here. By car, yeah. That's a good one. Did anyone cycle here? Huh? Car, yeah. What? You behave yourself. Anyone? Okay, that's someone came by car, yeah. But how else did you hear about this? Ukulele group. Oh, thank you for, wow. Ukulele, is that a local group? St. Albans Ukulele Group, fantastic. Anyone else? What? The Temple WhatsApp group, okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Anything on that? The what? The Krishna people told you, your wife, okay. Good to have good connections. So, Hare Krishna. Every time I say Hare Krishna, you've got to say, Hare Krishna. How many of you saw when George Harrison was put into the Hall of Fame in Hollywood? Do anyone remember that? And Tom Petty inaugurated it. And he made a very short talk, very nice. And he said, okay, well, you all know George. So if we all say Hare Krishna together, we'll consider George inaugurated in the Hall of Fame. So the whole audience, it's on the video, so it says, Hare Krishna. And everyone goes, Hare Krishna. They were louder than that. Come on.
Hare Krishna.
And what's the next line? And the next line? Go on, keep going. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to talk more about this later, how George got interested and all that. Another request. There's only two of us upstage here. We're a bit short tonight. So anyone would like to come and join us in the chorus? I mean, not all of you, but there's room for about 6. Anyone come? Don't be shy. Just come up and you can join in the chorus. Anyone out there? Who's got a reasonable voice? It's not... Thank you. Jagatam. What? Now. Yes. Now. This very moment. Don't be shy. So we don't have any drum tonight, but we have cartels. Let's have a tingle. Can we have a tingle?
Yeah.
Cartels are very versatile. Yeah. Who of you plays cartels? I can. Nice and loud. About here. So just about here. About here. Play the cartels about here.
Oh, okay.
Not in the front of that. Oh, we haven't got any more. Unless you got some. You got some? Yep. Well, go get, if you want to get them, join us when you get here. Join you when you get here. So before we chant Hare Krishna, we offer a prayer to our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who George met on numerous occasions and was very impressed by. So we offer a prayer to Srila Prabhupada to please bless our prayer for chanting Hare Krishna. And then we offer prayers to Lord Chaitanya, who started this chanting process on a big scale 500 years ago. And then we chant Hare Krishna. So please join in the Hare Krishna mantra. It's call and response, as it goes like that. It's okay. You sitting down?
Yeah, I'm going to sit there. Adjust this mic.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Like this, like that. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhashesha Sunyavadi Paschachada Satarine. Keep it in with it. Louder. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Keep in beat. You have beat.
What?
You keep going off the beat.
You right?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not you?
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please join in. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitagora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thanks for joining in. You can stay here if you want to.
No, we'll go and...
You can go and throw tomatoes from the audience.
Yeah, I'll go and get the tomatoes.
Hare Krishna. Back in the 60s, anyone here from the 60s? Let's have a big Hare Krishna if you're in the 60s. Okay, let's hear a big Hare Krishna if you're in the 70s. What about the 80s? 90s? I'm just getting an idea of the age group of the audience here. What about 2000? Oh, no one. So there's no one here under 20 years old. I'm surprised about that. Anyway, time flies. So back in the 60s, many of us heard Hare Krishna for the first time because of the record released by Apple Records, which was the record label of the Beatles. And that was a major breakthrough for the Hare Krishna devotees who came to London in the mid-60s. They got here about 67, 68. And actually, the devotees came here to London with the specific intention of meeting the Beatles, which is quite quite a thing to go for, really. Meet the Beatles. Anyone here met a Beatle? You've met a Beatle. Who did you meet? You shook Paul's hand on Soho Square. Were you waiting outside his office? Just happened to be walking by. No, you can't say. You can't snuff. You can't snub a Beatle, can you? No way, no. So he shook Paul's hand. Which hand was it? Anyone else met a Beatle? Oh, someone in the back. You met George. When did you meet George? At his house. So if I got that right, you went to pick up the marble from George's house, pick up the marble that was used on the altar here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. Wow. I know, yeah. And there was someone down here. You met, who was that?
Very fortunate to meet Paul about 20 times.
You met Paul 20 times?
Yeah,
What was your connection there? Wow. You got some mystic radar there.
and I met George about 10 times.
Okay. Are you in the music business?
No.
Okay. I'm prying now. I'm just curious. That's all.
The best time I ever met George was when the Beatles were doing an anthology. They had an office in Ealing.
The Beatles had an office in Ealing.
Doing the anthology film in 1994.
1994, yeah.
And I used to go there thinking, well, when I was 13, 1978, the Beatles had an office for the Beatles book magazine
Yeah.
in Westbourne Grove.
Can you hear this at the back?
The Beatles had an office in Westbourne Grove. Oh, thank you, sir, from Stockport. 2 minutes. Yeah, so in 1978, I thought I'm going to go and see the Beatles. They're in their office in Westbourne Grove, the Beatles book magazine. And I went there. It was a Porsche garage. And I thought, oh, they're not here because when you actually, I was 12, and I was thinking I'm going to see them. So years later, I saw Paul, and I met Paul and Linda, and we used to go to the airport when they used to fly in on Concorde. And Paul used to say, oh, my welcoming committee's here. And I used to chat to my wife, used to chat to Linda about vegetarianism. And by the time I met George, I met him at Royal Albert Hall for a Billy Connolly event. George was a little bit worse for wear, shall we say. And I said, I think got my mind set on you was number 2. And I said, are you going on Top of the Pops? And he said, no. I thought, oh, okay, it's a bit disappointing. But the best time I ever met George was, I saw Paul's car outside of the Apple building. And I thought, oh, I cannot get near Paul's car because Paul knows me. He's going to tell me off politely in his Liverpool way. And then George came out with Olivia, and I thought, oh, George, this is much more interesting. I said to George, hi, George. And he said, I'm not George Harrison, I'm Paul McCartney. And I said, Olivia looked, and I said, no, come on, George. And he says, I'm Paul. And he got in his 1978 black Porsche with U33 on the with a Sgt. Pepper cassette tape in the middle. And I thought, I can't get better than that, really, because George is just a person. You know, yes, he's very dear to us all, but he was just a lad from Liverpool, and he didn't like to be worshipped and idolised. I understand he came here a lot, secretly, and just wandered around. And I think he was allowed that privilege, I think, after years of people screaming at him. So I was very fortunate.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, George was very humble. He really was really very humble. Well, just on that topic, we're going to jump ahead a few years, quite a few years. There was a Hare Krishna devotee named Pritu. He had an ashram in Vrindavan. And this was in the 90s. And George wanted to go to Vrindavan and meet his friends Shamsundar and Mukunda. And Pritu offered a place for George to stay, a nice ashram in Vrindavan. Vrindavan's in India, if you didn't know. And he got a call saying that George had arrived at the station and to go and meet him. And so Pritu went down the road, and there was George coming along, carrying his bags. You know? So Peter was very pleased to see him. He said, let me carry your bags for you. He said, no, it's all right. He said, let me carry your bags in the presence of a great personality. You should. He said, what great personality have we got here? You know, Peter carried his own bags. I mean, you think about it. Some pop stars would be only too pleased to, kind of glory in the bask in the adulation. But George seemed to be way, way beyond that. And you look at some of the. I'm surprised that when I look at some of the dates of when he wrote some of his seminal songs, which he wrote while he was still in the Beatles, but it was only later that he could release them. All Things Must Pass, that was when the Beatles were still together. Some of his amazing songs. And George's spiritual journey, any of you here read any of the biographies about George? Anyone here? Oh, not many, okay. So, I said, have any of you read any biographies about George? We got these various books about. So not many of you read anything, so if I make odd mistakes, no one's going to really notice. That's good. Good to know that. George did a very nice book, which was about his songs. He wrote all these different songs were in it, and he wrote a few words about explaining what the song was. And there's a few songs over the years which really touched me. The one that really hit me was a song on Sgt. Pepper album, Within You, Without You. It's one of my favorite songs. But one of the songs that really caught my ear to begin with, I don't know about yourself, was the song not by George. It was a song called Norwegian Wood, written by John. Now, what was special about Norwegian Wood? Anyone know? What was that? Sitar, yes. Sitar. Never heard one before. Wow, what is that magical sound? Of course, the Beatles were what's the right word? Sitar, balalaika, a Russian instrument. They experimented with lots of different sounds, and every song, especially every single that came out, there's going to be something quite unique about it. So what is this sound, this sitar? And that got me interested in Indian music and Ravi Shankar. Went to see Ravi Shankar in Sheffield. And George was an ambassador of Indian culture. He began as an ambassador of Indian culture, and then along with that Indian side came the spiritual package, the spiritual side, big time. He really opened things up, big time. And then another song he did, Love You Too, sitar. But the one that really touched me was Within You, Without You. So myself and Dave. Dave, are you? Oh, this is Dave. David Stuckey. Give a hand, please. David Stuckey. He's a musician. He teaches music, and he's a very good musician. Hey, Hare Krishna. You don't know that. Come on, what was it? You've got to be on alert, Don't fall asleep. Every time I say Hare Krishna, you've got to say Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's it. That's the way. So we're going to sing one of George's songs. I'm going to sing a few tonight. This is an acoustic one. It's called Within You, Without You. When I was in my teens, the family, we had a reel-to-reel tape recorder. And I'd play this track over and over again. I think I eventually broke the tape on that one. So this is a kind of free form of Within You, Without You. Anyone here not heard Within You, Without You? Don't be shy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, geez, whoa. Yeah, okay. So this is a very philosophical song. It's deep. It's an introspective song. It's meant to change your heart, change your direction, change your attitude, or nurture it, whatever's there. It's a very deep song. I hope I do it justice. So Dave is playing an Indian instrument called a santoor.
In this country, a hammer dulcimer is a relative.
Hammer dulcimer. It's also called a hammer dulcimer in the West.
Santoor
Shanti. Okay. Is it really? Could you hear that? Dulcimer, the chanteur, the word chanteur comes from the word shanti, which means peace. Chanteur. And it's very similar to the Western instrument called a dulcimer, which means sweet.
It goes as far as China, all along the Silk Road.
Ah. Anyone heard of the Silk Road? Yeah? I live next door to Silk Mill Road, but it stops in Watford. But the Silk Road went all the way from Europe, all the way to India and China. It was a major trade route. And so there was a lot of culture traveled backward and forwards along that. Instruments and philosophy and stories. In fact, last year, a couple of years ago, I heard that in Bulgaria, in the villages, there were still memories of songs that hadn't been destroyed by communism, and the songs were folk songs about Krishna's pastimes in Bulgaria. So Krishna appears in India 5,000 years ago. This is very momentous, of course. But the culture spread all over the place. So anyway, that's another diversion. Chanteur, and this is called a Swamandala. And this is a Tampura. And there's a little built-in echo over here. There's a funny thing that happened when George did his concert for Bangladesh. Anyone seen the concert for Bangladesh? A few of you. Bangladesh is in the news again, unfortunately, for different reasons. And he did the concert for Bangladesh, and he had Ravi Shankar agreed to come and play for the first half. And Ravi Shankar and his sitar, Tampura, Swamandala, and Madanga, tabla, and they went on for about 10, 15 minutes. And they were tuning up. They were just tuning up. And once they'd finished tuning up, they were going to start playing, and they stopped tuning, and everyone applauded. So these instruments are so sweet that even when you're tuning up, it can sound quite remarkable. They're very sensitive to heat, these steel strings. And Dave's got, how many strings you got there? About 50? 80? 80 strings. So, you know, if you've got to tune up 80 strings, by the time you tuned it up, the gig's over.
It was in tune half an hour ago.
Half an hour, yeah. So we'll, anyway, give me a shout when you're okay. We were talking about the space between us all and the people who hide themselves behind a wall of illusion, never glimpse the truth. Then it's far too late when they pass away. We were talking about the space between us all and the people who hide themselves behind a wall of illusion, never glimpse the truth. Then it's far too late when they pass away. We were talking about the love that's gone so cold and the people who gain the world and lose their soul. They don't know, they can't see. Are you one of them? Try to realize it's all within yourself. No one else can make you change. And to see you're really only very small, and life flows on within you and without you. We were talking about the love we all could share when we find it, to try our best to hold it there. With our love we could save the world if they only knew. If they only knew. Try to realize it's all within yourself. No one else can make you change. And the time will come when you see we're all one, and life flows on within you and without you. Thank you, Dave. Dave's very talented. He'll be playing bass guitar later. What's the raga next time now? Sorry, joking. Okay. So within you, without you, had an influence on myself. I don't know about yourselves. How many have you heard of? How many had heard within you, without you before? Keep your hand up if you felt it made a shift in you. Did it kind of shift your direction or have an influence? Yeah. Made you a believer. That's a Monkey's song, isn't it? I'm a believer. Yeah. And that's a unique thing, I think, about George Harrison. He was very honest, and he shared his life's journey through his songs, his ups and his downs. And he'd certainly been up there. I mean, at the age of 21, what incredible wealth, amazing fame, prestige. He had everything going for him as a member of the world-famous Beatles. And yet, it didn't quite fulfill. And some of his songs really do reflect that. At the same time, he was honest about the trials and tribulations of being wealthy. There's one song he brought, Taxman. It was more than 19 shillings in the pound that they had to pay. Imagine paying 95 pence in taxation for every pound that you earned. That's quite a lot of tax. So that got on George's nerves a bit, and things got on his nerves. Ringo once said about George, he's either grumbling or he's praying. Grumbling or praying. And he kind of fits in with his sun sign, which is a Pisces. You got two fishes, and they're going in different directions. Well, one's going that way, and the other's going this way. And they're going round and round. He even wrote a song called Pisces Fish. I'm a Pisces fish, and the river runs through my soul. That was out of tune. But he's a Pisces fish. And he even said that to Srila Prabhupada one time. But let's jump in the gun a little bit. So George first heard the Hare Krishna mantra through a record that the devotees did, that actually Srila Prabhupada did. Srila Prabhupada arrived in New York in 1965. Was it 5? And he founded the Hare Krishna movement, ISKCON, in 66. Someone's left the bead bag up here, just in case they're missing beads. Yourself, okay. I'll leave it up here. And Srila Prabhupada had the foresight to make a record just down the road from the first storefront temple, which was in Lower East Side. There was a guy who had a little studio. People had little studios then. And for a couple of $100, you can make a record. And Prabhupada said, we're going to make a record. And that was called, the label was called the Happening label. Happening. It was called Radha Krishna. But it became known amongst devotees as the Happening album. The Happening album. And back then, in the 60s, a thing called a happening would be a spontaneous something or other. It could be anything. It could be a spontaneous poetical thing, or music, or dance, or it could be spontaneous, everyone takes their clothes off. It could be anything. It could be anything. But we're not going to have any happenings here tonight. We've got the program kind of worked out, roughly. So the Happening album was actually very popular. And when Brahmananda went to Macmillan to get Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita published by Macmillan, he took some of these albums with him, and quite a few of them were brought up in Macmillan. And somehow or other, I think a couple of hundred, and somehow or other, one of these got to George Harrison. And he started chanting Hare Krishna because of this record album of Srila Prabhupada. And he gives a full explanation on the record. Have any of you heard this, the Hare Krishna? It's called Hare Krishna Classics. You must have heard it. How many of you heard Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada on Kirtan? Rajan? Oh, not many of you. Go on the internet and download it. It's free. You can get them for free. Download it. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the Happening album. And Prabhupada's chanting Hare Krishna with his early disciples and gives a whole explanation, whole philosophy, what the chanting's about. Very deep, very grave, very serious. But the spiritual side that many people were looking for in the 60s, it wasn't all sex and drugs and rock and roll. There were many people who were looking for a serious alternative to mainstream society. Seriously. And some people joined communes. Some people thought it was a political alternative. Some people got into vegetarian big time in the 60s. It all started in the 60s. Interest in yoga, interest in vegetarianism, talk about karma, Indian spirituality. It all started in the 60s. The hippies got things rolling, you could say. Anyway, were there any old hippies here? One? I'm sure there's one or two else sneaking around somewhere. I'm not a hippie, I'm just wearing an Eastern jacket, that's all. So, yeah. So, anyway, George heard this record, and he started chanting, and there's a book we've got on chanting Hare Krishna. Is it called On Chanting Hare Krishna? The little black book, what's it called? What's it called? Chant and Be Happy. Yes, Chant and Be Happy. There's a whole interview there between Srila Prabhupada, when he first met, when George and John first met Srila Prabhupada. There's a whole interview there. It's all about the chanting. And also an exclusive interview with George about why he chants. So anyone who wants to find out why George Harrison chants Hare Krishna and how he got into it, there's a little book there, especially all about it. So by the time that the Hare Krishnas came to London, and Shyam Sundar's idea, and all the devotees, they came, there were 6 of them. 3 married couples who came. And within a year and a half, they'd met the Beatles and made friends with George Harrison. In fact, when Shyam Sundar, who went to Apple, devotees were trying to get into Apple Studios and to meet George. And they heard there was a meeting of the Beatles, and they got in anyway. And the Beatles were there, and they all kind of filed out the big room. But George, he made a beeline for Shyam Sundar. He said, I've been waiting to meet you people. Where have you been? Where have you been? In his Liverpool accent. And that was the beginning. And the devotees, they invited George around to take prasadam. Very nice cooking by Jamuna. Anyone here got Jamuna's cookbook? Very nice cookbook. Amazing recipes, traditional recipes that made thousands of Hare Krishna devotees. These recipes are unique, very special. And he was blown out by the chanting, because they chanted, and then they had very nice prasadam. And he said, come to my house. So the devotee went to George's house. And within a short time, he said, you make a record. You should make a record. And he had his own record company, of course, Apple. And the devotees made the record, and it was in the top 10 for quite a long time. And around the world, in some countries, it was number 1. And people all around the world were chanting Hare Krishna. All around the world, chanting Hare Krishna. Why? Because George Harrison was impressed, very touched by the record by Srila Prabhupada and the sincerity of his disciples who came here with nothing. In previous decades, some of the sannyasis had come to England to try and start what's called the Gaudiya Math, which is Bhaktisiddhanta's mission. No success. But somehow or other, the devotees really caught the pulse of the times. And the Hare Krishna movement began in the 60s, and it's gone and expanding ever since then. The temples now in China. There's Hare Krishnas in China, in Russia, all of the Iron Curtain countries. It's not always been like that, of course. Devotees risk their lives. Right now in Bangladesh, it's ironic. George did the Bangladesh concert to raise funds for all the refugees coming from Bangladesh. And now, again, big trouble in Bangladesh. The material world is a dangerous place. It is a dangerous place. You might have been living in Ukraine for, 20, 30 years. Oh, it's a nice place, suddenly. The whole material world is a dangerous place. I remember years ago there was a record by the Mothers of Invention, Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. And they had one song. It said, the chorus was, they say it couldn't happen here. They say it couldn't happen here. They say it couldn't happen here. But it can. It can happen everywhere. And it does. Material world is delivering the lesson over and over and over again. And George Harrison wrote about it. Living in the material world. All things must pass away. It's all in it. So if you look at the catalogue of George's songs, it's a whole spiritual journey throughout the whole of his songs. Remarkable. Remarkable. So what are we going to do next? I've not really planned this out, really. I'm just walking up and down, trying to look like something's happening here. Are you happy? Oh, you're miserable. If you're happy, chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Well, you're not miserable, but, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, thanks for chanting Hare Krishna. So what is special about chanting Hare Krishna? It sounds, sometimes you think, oh, it's just a sound bite, isn't it? Just a little. No, it's not actually. It's transcendental sound vibration, as Prabhupada explains on the Happening album, which you should look it up. Look it up. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Happening album. And listen to his Prabhupada's purport, what he's explaining about the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. Lord Chaitanya, who appeared 500 years ago, is the incarnation of Krishna who came to spread the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And he said, in the coming age, my name will be chanted in every town and village of the world. Every town and village of the world. And Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, he brought this mission to the West. And George Harrison took the baton, and through the devotee's connection with him, he made sure that the Hare Krishna mantra was a single, spread all around the world. George Harrison helped to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's prophecy. And I always say at these gatherings, we've been having these gatherings for the past this is the 21st year since George's departure. And I always say, George probably did more than anyone, apart from Prabhupada, to spread this Hare Krishna mantra around the world. And I also say, from one perspective, George wasn't a saint. He was a rock star. He did all the things that rock stars do. But look at what he did to spread spiritual consciousness. He never set himself on a pedal and did the saint thing. No, he was very, very humble person. So humble, Hare Krishna. So humble. So we're kind of gradually working towards our electric amplified music, little by little. So perhaps we could sing another acoustic one with Trilokanath. It's a song that was on the White Album. This song was, when I first heard it years ago in the 60s, I thought, what a sentimental love song. I didn't really touch me. I thought it was very sentimental. But George is full of surprises. When he wrote his book, I Me Mine, he did a little explanation of what this song's about. And actually, it's a song about feeling separation from the Supreme Lord. It's a song of separation for God. And then it takes on a totally new dimension. Actually, some of George's songs could be taken in different, enigmatic. It could be a spiritual love he's talking about, or it could be material, romantic love. You got the Pisces fish going both ways. You could take them either way. How does it touch you? It's subjective. And maybe he made it like that. The one time I met George here at the Manor, I really kicked myself. I never asked him about a couple of things about some of his songs. What do you mean, George? You know, what did it... Other people have asked him those questions about this apparent ambiguity. He'd say, well, you take it whatever you want to do. Whatever way that you want to take it on board, then do it like that. What does it mean to you? Which is a very personal way of doing things. So this is long, long, long. I'm not going to play anything now. I'm just going to... We've got Kundalata on the drums. The what? The drum machine. And Trilokanath is going to play guitar.
Just have to tune it.
Another tuning.
It's not nice waiting for somebody to tune their instrument, but it's even worse listening to an instrument that's not tuned. Forgive me.
It's been a long,
long, long time.
How could I ever have lost you? When I loved you. long time. Now I'm so happy I found you. How I love you. So many tears I was searching, so many tears I was wasting. Oh, now I can see you, be with you. How can I ever misplace you? How I love you. Oh, I want you. Oh, I love you. You know that I need you. Oh, I love you. Hare Krishna. That was a very deep. He wrote that when he was in the Beatles. His spiritual journey had begun. And it's so personable. Remarkable. It's been remixed. There's a remix on this. There's a remix of quite a few of the Beatles' original stuff and George's things as well. And the remixes often bring out textures that you won't have heard if you got when it was released in the 60s. So it's a very nice song to listen to. In fact, George's songs really are. They have a very special, honest quality, and the spiritual side isn't lacking. George is one of the Georges, actually, which had quite an influence on me. I think the first George was George Orwell. His books had an influence, especially, you must know the title of a famous one. 1984, yes. Interesting we say 1984. Of course, Animal Farm was another one. Quite a few. But 1984, especially as 1984 seems to be coming manifest around us, was he a prophet? Was he a seer? Did he see things? Or did he have his pulse on you could say, the things that were going on behind the scenes? Who knows? George Orwell. Another one of my heroes, someone I really enjoy listening to. He's a satirist and a comedian, satirist, kind of deeply honest person. His name is George Carlin. George Carlin. And his words aren't for young ears. He's a bit coarse sometimes, but he's really got the finger of the pulse of what's going on. He tears the facade off our so-called Western advancement society and exposes it for what it is. And you can see a lot of his stuff on the internet. George Carlin. That's right, isn't it? Carlin. Yeah. There's little clips of he's on a particular topic. And he's talking about the elitism and the wealth. And he ends this little clip. He says, it's a big, he kind of leans forward like this. He's very kind of conspiratorial, getting everyone in, He says, it's a big club, and you ain't in it. And we ain't in it. We're the people that George Harrison identified with. He was very much a man of the people, George. And there's been a few Georges, of course, but my favorite George is George Harrison. I've got to say that. Had a big influence on me. and possibly in quite a few of you. How many people found that their spiritual life opened up through hearing George Harrison? Wave your hands around. Okay. How many of you were already on the spiritual path and pleased to see George Harrison was on board? Okay. I'm trying to think of other things to ask you about, just to get a sense of the audience. It's nice to kind of know where everyone's coming from. Was the supper okay tonight? Oh, it went down a bit flat then, didn't it? Maybe you ate too much. You're falling asleep there in your chairs. Was it a nice supper tonight? Yes. It's a Hare Krishna supper. Yeah. And it's... we have a prasadam. It's called prasadam. Prasadam is foodstuffs offered to the Lord. It's a sacrament. For those of you who don't know, prasadam, it's the cook is in clean clothes, clean consciousness, and the cooking is done as a meditation. The cooking itself is a meditation. Because you probably know that if someone cooks you with bad energy, it goes in the food. You can get sick from eating food that someone who doesn't like you has cooked. Just the energy. So prasadam is cooked with a sanctified mind in a clean, sanctified place. And then it's offered with a sanctified mind, with devotion, offered to Krishna. And then that's called prasadam. It's a sacrament. All the food here at the temple is prasadam. And George was very fond of prasadam. In fact, one of his favorites was cauliflower pakoras. We had cauliflower pakoras tonight. Of course, the recipes may differ a little bit from generation to generation. When I used to have cauliflower pakoras, they were crispy on the outside. These are kind of soft. They're very nice. But it'll be fine. You come another day and it might be crispy pakoras. You never know. And halva. George loved halva. Who likes halva here? Okay. Who's not heard of halva here? Who's never heard of halva? Oh, okay. Just one or two. Okay. Anyway, this isn't a recipe class. This is we could talk about so many things. But definitely, music to the ears and pleasure to the tongue can be spiritual. We think, well, surely I have to fast and just live on, raw food and live in a cave and not listen to any music. No, the whole point of Krishna consciousness, the whole essence of spiritual life, is to use the energy of God in the service of God. It's God's energy. Everything's Krishna's energy. I'm also Krishna's energy, and you're Krishna's energy. The soul is one of Krishna's energies. And we're wandering around from life to life, passing through 1,000,000 years of crying, until we realize the art of dying. The art of dying is to focus the mind during one's life, give one's energy in the service of Krishna. So at the point of departure, there's a good chance you can think of the Supreme Lord when you're leaving. As George Harrison himself said, after he'd been stabbed multiple times, just managed to escape with his life. He said, I don't want to be thinking about who put the cat out when I'm leaving. You imagine you're on your deathbed, who put the cat out? What are you going to take birth as? No prizes for guessing. Whatever fills your mind as we're going, that departure, the mind will carry that conception, and you'll get a new body built around that mental image, that mental obsession, what you take shelter of. So that's the art of dying. We have to utilize our energies in the service of the Supreme and use God's energies in the service of God. So music can also be used in the service of the Supreme. Cooking can be used in the service of the Supreme. Theatre, music, dance, everything, architecture. Once upon a time, the arts were sacred. They were sacred. They weren't degraded, weren't things that pull you into your lower nature. They were sacred. But things became, we live in what's called the Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. We're 5,000 years into Kali Yuga, and things aren't looking too good. The Kali Yuga Kali Yuga is the universal winter. It goes in a cycle. Satyuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the short one. And it's a cycle. It goes round and round and round. And Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years. 500,000 years. 432,000 years. We're 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. So we think, oh, well, there's no hope then, is there? Well, there is, actually. Although we're 5,000 years into Kali Yuga, and things have gone downhill a lot since you were born. You can see it. Everybody sees it. What to speak of since your parents, your grandparents, ooh, it's gone over the edge. Where are we going? It's Kali Yuga. This is the universal winter. Quarrel and hypocrisy. The gross age, very gross. Spiritual life, ultimately, it just disappears. But the good news is, there's always good news. There's a brief golden age of 10,000 years. And we're on the cusp. We're on the cusp of this 10,000 years. When again the principles of spiritual life will again be established in human society. And the chanting of Hare Krishna, the chanting of the holy names of God will spread all around the planet. And the planet becomes transformed for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, we're back into the Kali Yuga big time. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So we've got 10,000 years to get out. 10,000 years. So we don't know how long we're going to live in this life. So our life is meant for awakening our Krishna consciousness, our God consciousness. If you're a Christian, fine. Awaken your love of God. If you're a Muslim, fine. Awaken your love of God. If you're a Jew, awaken your love of God. That's the goal. That's the only way, is to awaken our love of God. Not to beat others because they're not following my path. No. We have to awaken our love of God, devotion. And that's the process of bhakti yoga. The process of devotion, utilizing God's energy in the service of God. It's His, everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. So, Luke, are you available? Are you tuning up? You're okay? Okay. This is Luke. He's a music teacher, an accomplished musician. He's going to sing a couple of songs for us. Please, a big hand. Luke. Can, let's see, where would it go? We got a... Use the one here. He's telling me.
Oh, you could just put this in. I don't know what that's doing.
Yeah, there's a balance it out when you watch it.
Yeah. Luckily, they connected my drum machine to a DI box, and it should be an issue.
Run of the mill and Be Here Now.
So just check it. Yeah, just.
So this song is two songs Luke's going to do. One is a song of wisdom about self-control. How lack of self-control can really take your path. It can make a lot of difficulties. It's called Run the Mill. What was the other one? Be Here Now. That's a brilliant one. Anyway, the words are self-explanatory. Luke's a very good musician. I'll hand it over to him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Let's keep going for a while. Yes, thank you so much. Just wanted to play and share a couple of George songs that I like. This one is called Run of the Mill. So it was actually written in hearsay to a kind of a response to a remark that he didn't really like from someone else in the band. George's songs are a bit run of the mill, was the critique that was sort of aimed at him. So he wrote a song called Run of the Mill, just to, I guess, to show that he's a lot more than that, So so many of George's songs and music I've learned, just slowly over the years. And I find that, like all really good music, is that they grow on you, actually. First couple of times I've heard a few songs, so many George songs, so many George albums. If you sit down and listen to one, you might like a lot of them, you might like some of them. But listen to the same album again and again, and you'll see there's a few of them that just absolutely shine out, and they grow and grow and grow. So I find George Harrison's music quite a lot like that. It's not always outspoken, you know, at the very, very beginning, but it's quite subtle. Whereas the opposite is, you know, like pop music. It's so easy on the ears. It's like, oh, this is great, you know, we sing it, and then the next day you sing it, and then the next day you're like, okay, I've definitely had enough of that song. You know, so there's different sorts of writing styles. Anyway, I'll just do my own thing with this one. It's called Run of the Mill. To raise their voices, it's you that decide which way you will turn, while feeling that our love's not your concern. It's you that decide. When no one around you will carry the blame for you, no one around you will love you today and throw it all away tomorrow. Right. Another day for you to realize me, will send me down again as the day stands up on end. You got me wondering how I lost your friendship, and I see it in your eyes. No one beside you, I can carry the blame for you, and I may decide to out with your blessing. Will I carry on guessing? Well, how will you leave? And will you make enough for you to reap it? Only you to ride at your own made end, with no one but yourself to be offended. It's you that decide. No one around you will carry the blame. Will love you today and throw it all away. And I may decide to get out with your blessing. Well, I'll carry on guessing, and I'll run way over the mill. So, there we go. So I'm going to sing another little tune. I like this one. This I have to just retune, so it's going to be like listening to the Sand Tour for a minute, I think. So another thing I quite like about George's playing and his music is that he does use quite different tunings quite often, and not only that, just time signatures and things like that. That last song, The Run of the Mill, if you listen to a couple of different versions that he's got of it, it's really interesting because he's not sticking to, you know, a standard 4/4 measure. There's always a bar of 3 here and there, and it's really quite strange and quite random to learn. So I kind of like that. It's unpredictable, let's say. I think we're there. This number's called Be Here Now, and I think this really does describe the song very, very well. It's about living in the present, really, being present. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
I know you're a wonderful song. I just wondered what your own reflections were on that particular song. As if it's not self-explanatory, but any...
So I'll tell you what I really like about this song is it's quite clever the way it catches you because, you know, the lyrics are remember, now, and that's it, be here now. You know, you think that we might hear a story or something's going to be discussed here. That's it, just remember, now, be here now. That's it. The lyrics are very, very simple. It's not like it was before, and that's it. You know, it's very open, it's very broad, isn't it? So it's so fun. The past was, be here now. Done. You see what I mean? It's like halfway through, the past was what? You know, we're suddenly thinking about the past. It doesn't matter, it's done. It was, be here now. So living in the present, you know, I think it's very nice. But I like the way the lyrics are so short and they kind of trick you into thinking there might be something else, but actually just pulling you back into the present. So it's really nice songwriting, lovely vocals, lovely lyrics. You know, there's just the simplicity that I really like. Just a couple of words, that's it. You know, and most of the song is just a handful of words there, which is not. You know, he didn't always write songs like that. Some of his songs are like, you know, essays. So it's a nice example of some fantastic songwriting. So nothing run of the mill about that either.
Thanks very much. That's very nice, insightful. Thank you. Luke, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
When George was asked about, often about his time with the Beatles, he'd often say, I'm not a Beatle, I'm a gardener. And talk about leaving things behind. I mean, the Beatles. I mean, when I was a teenager in the 60s, and the next Beatles record that came along was anticipated. It filled everyone's, it just lifted up the whole atmosphere. And weird, how could it do that? And that was my particular taste. I don't know if are there any heavy metal fans in here? Any heavy metal? No? Yeah, okay. So, sir, since you're a heavy metal fan, do you feel uplifted when you hear a new heavy metal track on the radio? No. No, they had some kind of a special effect that no one else did. The Rolling Stones didn't. It might be groovy, but it wasn't the same. Pink Floyd, okay, great, but it wasn't the same as the Beatles. How was that? Well, Srila Prabhupada was asked one time, he asked his opinion of the Beatles' music, and I don't know which tracks he listened to, but he said they're from the heavenly planets. It's music that resonates on a higher level. The harmonies are amazing. You analyze the Beatles. The harmonies, incredible, and real craftsmanship. I'm not here to promote the Beatles. They're an amazing band, and everyone says they broke all the... they kind of broke all the barriers, as it were. They covered practically everything. Even George, he not only did he go to the east for Indian ragas and sitar, Indian music, but he came all full Western and got into electronic sound. He did the soundtrack for Wonderwall, a film called Wonderwall, all electronic music. He had a big Moog synthesizer brought over from America to put in his house in Shenley. And they had to knock a wall out and bring a crane in to get it into his studio. No? Because he could afford to do that. But he got it all set up and it wouldn't work. So he said, well, you know, what's going on? Because a team came over to fit it, to get it all together, and what's not working? So I don't know if they took it back or he sent it back, but they did bring another one. He got another one, set it all up. Didn't work. So George was very focused. He was, you know, he was a determined kind of fellow. Once he decided, he'd do something, you know. So he figured it out. He said, we've got valves in this, haven't we? Valves, yeah, valves, of course. He said, well, it's been brought in by air freight, isn't it? Yeah. So the air pressure in the cargo hold has disrupted the valves. The valves were blown out because it's low pressure up there. And that's it. It was fixed and he played. Yeah, Wonderwall. It's totally electronic. It's a film about hippies, but the music is kind of groundbreaking. Wonderwall. And some of the tracks that the Beatles would also used as Moog synthesizer. Because that's music. And I think that George was one of the first to kind of show the world the spirituality of India, because we said that before. Others have followed in his footsteps. It wasn't necessarily Indian, like, for example, the band called Police and Sting. They did a very famous top 10 record called Living in the Spirits in the Material World. Spirits in the material world. You are spirits. We are spirits in the material world. That's the chorus. We are spirits in the material world. Brilliant song. That's another one to put in your notebook. Look up Police, Spirits in the Material World. You won't get arrested. The band's called Police. And it's worth listening to. And I don't know if it has any resonance with it, but the Police were kind of going up the charts and becoming well known. And one devotee, his name's Yadavendu, he somehow or other, I don't know how he did it, He got backstage at the Glastonbury Festival years ago, in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was. He got backstage and he gave Sting a Bhagavad Gita, as it is. And that's when suddenly his lyrics changed. So this is the influence of spiritual culture. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that whatever a great man does, and whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Whatever a famous man does, what a wealthy man does, what a celebrity does, people will take note. Because they're rich and famous, and they have influence. So that's something that George did whenever he had an interview. Remarkably, at most of his interviews, he'd always bring in the spiritual side. Who here has seen any of the interviews of George on the telly or the internet? Oh, put up your hands if you haven't seen any interviews of George. Okay, there's quite a few don't knows, but yeah, it's well worth watching. You talk about reincarnation, you talk about yoga, and he talks about his dissatisfaction, because he's always asked about the Beatles, so he'll generally swat it off. He'll make a few wry comments. But he identified himself as a gardener. And we do have a George Harrison garden here. Anyone been to see the George Harrison garden? Okay. Anyone not been to see the George Harrison garden? Yeah, come on, wave it, put your hand up, don't be shy. I'll give you directions. Not tonight, because it's a cold November night. But if you, let's see. Yeah, if when you go out, not tonight, it's going to be dark, you fall over the moss. But you go up the steps and round the temple, all the way around, past the rose garden, and in that far corner, there's the George Harrison garden. And that was, that used to be a mossy dell, lots of moss and shady. And George liked that spot. He said one of his favorite spots here at Bhaktivedanta Manor was that spot there. So, when was it? It must have been in the past 10 years, I forget the date. It was decided to honor George and make it the George Harrison Garden. And a landscape gardener came in and did a very nice design with lots of very nice plants. It was very nice. And then Olivia Harrison, George's wife, this is after George had departed, she was invited to come and do the formal opening of the garden. And Olivia came, along with another famous gardener, whose name I can't remember. You have to forgive me. Huh? Monty Don, yes, Monty Don. Anyone here heard of Monty Don? Okay. Anyone here is a gardener? Anyone here would like to be a gardener? Oh, more hand for that one, yeah. So, Monty Don, yes, he spoke very nicely about George. Very nicely. And the remarkable thing is, we mentioned before about Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna who appears in this age. But Krishna comes as his own devotee. That's Lord Chaitanya, just 500 years ago. He's forecast 5,000 years ago. He appeared 500 years ago. And the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement is also forecast 5,000 years ago. And Lord Chaitanya described himself, he said, I'm a gardener. I can plant so much, and I can only distribute so much fruit. I can only distribute so much, so no, it's up to you. You have to distribute the fruit. He compared himself to a gardener. And George thought of himself as a gardener. And he did so much, as we said before, to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna. Like no one else. Quite remarkable. So, I don't want to go on too long. I could go on all night. So, I want to ask Don and company, can you come up and do something on the stage? Don, David, and is it Anoop? Anoop. Don McCulloch, he's a famous busker, a very talented musician. Well, I've got to get you in the right groove, you know.
Okay. Thank you very much. There's somebody
Someone's left the phone here. So they're just setting up. This is an impromptu ensemble. So they don't have a name. They're going to do a few numbers. And first of all, an invocation to get the blessings of the Lord.
Thank you. I'll try.
Hare Krishna. I'll leave you to it.
Jai Radhika, should I say? Srimati Radhika. Nothing is happening without the blessing of Srimati Radhika. And my Guruji has told me this. Krishna, he is beautiful, but he is also a rascal. He is off, he is running around doing pastimes. Bless him. But you don't get to Krishna unless you serve Srimati Radhika. It's very important to know this. So I want to give my obeisances to Radharani. Radharani ki! So I'm going to do a little bit of Radha Madhava, and then we'll go into a couple of George songs and see how you like it. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopilala Balava, Girivare Dare, Jaya Gopijana Balava, Girivare Dare, Yashodanandana Brajam, Jaya Ranjana, Jaya Ranjana Brajam, Jaya Ranjana, Yamuna Tira, Vanachare, Yamuna Tira, Vanachare. Thank you. So George, good friend of mine, know him personally. Many evenings up at Henley, partying out, as you do with these rock stars. Then I woke up. No, I did meet him a couple of times, but I used to drive his very good close friend Mukunda Maharaj. He used to play keyboards with George, and so I had the opportunity to meet George a couple of times. So the first song I'd like to do with from George Harrison is from the All Things Must Pass album, and it's called If Not For You. And I think that the mood that George was singing this If Not For You was that if not for Radha, if not for Krishna, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get up in the morning. I'd be in some lunatic asylum praying for mercy and not knowing how to get it. And so this is the first one. It's called If Not For You. Huh? Is it? Oh, it's not even on. Helps to be on, doesn't it? Oh yeah, it's been moved around, is it? Can't get the staff these days, you know what I'm saying? If not for you, babe, I couldn't find the door. I couldn't even see the floor, 'cause I'd be sad and blue. If not for you. If not for you, babe, I'd stay awake all the night, right until the morning light. What else could I do if not for you? If not for you, my sky would fall, rain would gather too. Not for love, I'd be nowhere at all, I'd be lost in the zoo. If not for you, well, winter would hold no spring. I couldn't hear no robin sing, 'cause I'd be sad and blue. If not for you. If not for you, sky would fall, rain would gather too. Not for love, I'd be nowhere at all, I'd be lost in the zoo. If not for you, no winter would hold no spring. I couldn't hear a robin sing, 'cause I'd be sad and blue. If not for you. Thank you very much, thank you. Okay, lovely. You're a lovely audience, by the way. Transcendental audience, yes. So then our last song we're going to do is, what's it called, Dave? Wishing for universal love. Yeah, dreaming of universal love. Yeah, it's called, what is it called? My one brain cell can't. What? While my guitar gently weeps. Yeah. I'm gonna mess this right up, but don't worry. Is it in A minor? Oh, thank God for that. So at least someone's paying attention. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I look at you all, see the love there that's sleeping, while my guitar gently weeps. I was you there, and I don't know how you got it. Still my guitar gently weeps. I don't know why you were diverted, you were perverted too. I don't know how you were inverted. No one alerted you. Well, I look from the wings at the play you are staging, while my guitar gently waves. While I'm sitting here doing nothing but aging, still my guitar gently waves. La da dee, da da da, da 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 da. While my guitar gently weeps. Thank you very much. So we're going to do My Sweet Lord, I believe, now with Tribhuvannath. Is he there? Thank you. You're not going to do it now? No, he's got a set. Oh, he's got a set first. You'll join in. Yeah. 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 He's got a set. Hare Krishna, big hand. Thank you very much. Yes, a couple of days.
That's it. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Anyone here got the Krishna book? Anyone got that? There's a 5,000-year-old Vedic writing called the Srimad Bhagavatam. 12 cantos. It's called the Bhagavat Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavat Purana. And amongst the Puranas, there are many Puranas. The Bhagavat Purana is unique because it describes the pastimes of Godhead. What does God do? What does he look like? We read about God in different scriptures, but not much information. And nowhere does it really tell us what the Supreme Lord looks like. And what does he do? He's not sitting on a cloud throwing thunderbolts at people. He doesn't have a long white beard. He's beyond time. Anyone here like grey hairs? We don't want grey hairs. We don't want to get wrinkled. We don't want to start smelling, do we? No, but it happens. Living in the material world. We've got material bodies, but we're spirit by nature. So we need to reawaken our spiritual Krishna consciousness. And during devotees in England, during the course of their friendship with George, George was very, very, very generous. And the secret was that they never asked George for anything. Never asked him. And that was that was a policy. No, we don't ask George for anything. And there's one interesting little incident that happened. I've just brought up earlier in the evening. Shamsunda befriended George. He was a good friend. In fact, George said there are 3 people in my life, must have been brothers. We must have been brothers. I feel so close to them. One was Ravi Shankar. Ravi Shankar was like, they felt like brothers. And the other one was Bob Dylan. They were really, really tight. And the third one was Sam Spiestra, or Shamsunda Das, who was a Hare Krishna devotee. They were really tight. And early days, devotees got the temple down in London. About the same time, George got the Henley estate. And Shamsunda went down, once Shamsunda had finished the Berry Place temple. How many here has been to the Berry Place temple? Not Soho Street, the Berry Place temple. The dentist, yeah. Have you been to the dentist? Did you sit on the holy chair? The chair in the dentist is right on where the altar used to be. Isn't that strange? You know, you go to get your teeth drilled, and Krishna used to sit right there. That's where the altar used to be. Yeah, the dentist. So it's a good dentist to go to, but I've no phone numbers. I can't really plug it for him. So anyway, Shamsunda finished that beautiful, beautiful temple. Got redwood, Canadian redwood, Japanese yellow wood. Beautiful temple. And after he finished doing that, he was a great carpenter. It was Shamsunda who carved Lord Jagannath down in there, in Soho Street. No, Soho Street. That was Shamsunda's handiwork. So he was helping George refurbish his own place. And he was helping scraping paint and doing this and that, helping out. And this is an interesting story. This is a first. Some of you will have heard it before. So they were buddies, and George loved the prasadam. He loved the chanting. At this point, I don't know if at this point, I think the Hare Krishna record had already been released. And then George kind of, at one point, down in George's kitchen, Shamsunda was there, and George said, "Your Swami is just like all the others, isn't he? You know, he's just after what he can get." Big mistake. Shamsunda saw red. Not only did he see red, he punched George out. George went flying. So there's not many people can punch a beetle and get away with it. But Shamsunda did. And what was George's reaction? He was quite pleased, actually. It really cemented their friendship. He said, "Nah, I know you're not here just for what you can get. He's not here to flatter. No. He's got his boundaries, and you're not going to insult Prabhupada. No way." So, that's interesting. That's very touching, actually, how George took that. And later on, he went on his Living in the Mature World album. Anyone got that album, Living in the Mature World? Yeah. Yeah? Is it a disc, or have you got the LP, the album, the hard vinyl? Because George used this picture on the inside of his Living in the Mature World, on the inside. That was that's the cover to Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And Ringo, when asked, he was in interviews and conversations about George. He said, "Oh, George, he wanted to put Krishna everywhere. He wanted to put those Hare Krishna chanting beads inside the Living in the Mature World album. He really wanted to, but it wasn't practical. Can you imagine trying to stack records in the shops full of beads and bead bags and bits and pieces? But he wanted to. He was very, very serious. And at one point, Srila Prabhupada was been translating the Krishna book. As I said before, Krishna book, we're talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna book is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada didn't know if he was still going to be alive, would live long enough to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nothing was certain. All the devotees thought, well, sure, Prabhupada's he's going to finish his Bhagavatam. As it turned out, he didn't. But some years before Prabhupada's departure, he translated and gave purports to the 10th canto, which is Krishna's pastimes. And that is the Krishna book. That is the Krishna book, the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, with translation and purports seamlessly woven together. It's a wonderful book. Where else can you read about the pastimes of God? No, this is unique. And Prabhupada asked Shyamsundar to ask George for a donation to pay for the printing. It was going to be $19,000, which in 1971, 72 was an awful lot of money. And Shyamsundar said, no, Prabhupada, I can't do that. We never asked George for anything. And Prabhupada said, don't worry, Krishna will look after things. So George was on the way, Shyamsundar was on the way to meet George at a marble, not a factory, a place where they have marble for the altar, also a marble merchant. And they were going to meet their, what was his name? David Wynne. David Wynne was the Queen's sculptor. He was doing busts of Prince Charles and the Queen. He was very well known, moved in high circles, and he was a friend of George. And he went there to help Shyamsundar choose the marble for the very place temple. So this was all duly done, and George was he was grateful and very friendly, and he brought Clive Wynne, he brought him a big 1.5 ton block of marble to do some sculpture on, whatever he liked. It was donation. And he invited George and Shyamsundar back to his house on Wimbledon Common for a supper, vegetarian supper. So it was a wild and stormy night. That sounds like a pirate story, doesn't it? It was a wild and stormy night. And Wimbledon Common was blowing. And Shyamsundar and David Wynne and George, they arrived at the house. And they had supper, nice vegetarian supper, and they're sitting down to cheese and biscuits and maybe some coffee, who knows. And meanwhile, Shyamsundar, on the way he knows what Prabhupada wants him to do, and he's worried, he's in panic. We never asked George for anything. What's he going to say? Prabhupada said, don't worry, Krishna will sort things out. So anyway, they're sitting down, coffee and biscuits, and Shyamsundar's kind of plucking up courage. He said, George, Prabhupada gave me these to show you. And they were color prints of the various pictures here in the Krishna book. There's probably 50 different illustrations here of Krishna's pastimes. Beautiful, beautiful pictures. And he was telling Prabhupada had finished the translating and now he wanted to print. And Prabhupada asked, this is what he said, Prabhupada asked me to ask you if you will cover the cost of printing. It's going to be and George says, how much is that going to be? $19,000. And Shyamsundar describes in his book, he says, George's face fell. You know, and Shyamsundar said, oh geez, he's just thinking we're another bunch, we're just after his money. Shyamsundar was and just at that moment, at that very moment, it was a wild and stormy night, there was an enormous peal of thunder. And a flash of blue light kind of lit up, hit the house, and all the lights went out. And for 10, 15 seconds, there was total darkness. And then the lights flickered on a bit. And Shyamsundar looked across at George, and George was grinning from ear to ear. And there's various accounts of George's response, one of which was, you don't have to be so dramatic. Another was, well, after that, what can I say? How much was it again? So, yeah, George covered the cost of the first printing of the Krishna book. And he also wrote the introduction, which is words from Apple. Words from Apple. We've got a display outside Anyone seen the big display outside? Anyone missed the big display outside? It's a big display. So anyway, it's George's introduction to the Krishna book. I won't read it all, but George says, everybody's looking for Krishna. Some don't realize it, that they are, but they are. Krishna is God, the source of all that exists, the cause of all that is, was, or ever will be. As God is unlimited, he has many names. Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Rama, all are Krishna, all are one. God is not abstract. He has both the impersonal and the personal aspects to his personality, which is supreme, eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. There are many yogic paths, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, which are all acclaimed by masters of each method. Swami Bhaktivedanta is, as his title says, a Bhakti Yogi, following the path of devotion. By serving God through each thought, word, and deed, and by chanting his holy names, the devotee quickly develops God consciousness. By chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna. Oh, that was louder, wasn't it? Yeah. And he signs off. He says, I request you, this is a request from George Harrison. So any George Harrison fans, just listen. He says, I request that you take advantage of this book, Krishna, and enter into its understanding. I also request that you make an appointment to meet your God now. Through the self-liberating process of yoga, union, and give peace a chance. All you need is love. Krishna. Hari Bol. George Harrison. 31st of January, February, March. 31st of March, 1970. That's his introduction. Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for being such a nice audience. So, these come in, it's a 2-volume set. 2 volumes. Great gift for children, grandchildren, and for you as well. It's a wonderful book. Lovely pictures, very accessible. Thoroughly recommend. Recommended by George Harrison himself. We can't go wrong there. So there's so many things we could say about George and his interaction with devotees. All I can do, because time is running out, we don't want to go on too long, yappity yakety yak. But we have also at the back, we have a book table back there, book table. So remember, words go in one ear and out the other, don't they? But you have a book, you can always go back to it. A book is something to treasure. A book, a real book. Digital might be convenient, but it's not the same as a book. Not the same. So we've spoken all about Shyam Sundar, who was George's dear friend. And Shyam Sundar's written a trilogy. It's called Chasing Rhinos, as in rhinoceros. Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. What the hell has that got to do with spiritual life? Anyone here chase rhinoceroses? Elephants? Hippopotamuses? No? Well, we can chase lots of things. But Prabhupada gave this little anecdote. Srila Prabhupada says, we should always be enthusiastic to try for capturing the rhinoceros. That way, if we fail, everyone will say, never mind, nobody can catch a rhinoceros anyway. And if we succeed, then everyone will say, just see what a wonderful thing they have done. And it's got to be said, Srila Prabhupada, who came to the West at the age of 70, he caught one rhinoceros after another. He also caught many bears and monkeys, and dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, and turned them all into devotees. But the rhinoceros is something which no one can get. But Shamsundar, in this series of books, he's sharing the adventure in Krishna consciousness and his interactions with Prabhupada. It's a wonderful, wonderful trilogy. And we've got these for sale at the back as well. Shamsundar's account, you won't find another one quite like it. He's got a very unique style of writing. He was Prabhupada's secretary for 2 or 3 years. And Srila Prabhupada said he was the best secretary that he had. He had quite a few secretaries, but Shamsundar was so proactive. Here at Bhaktivedanta Manor, when we first got this place in 1973, Prabhupada stayed here for two months. Was anybody here for the installation of Radha Gokulananda on Janmashtami of 1973? Oh, one. Yes, you're on the photographs, aren't you? And so am I as well, yeah. Anyone else? Ignasi? You were there as well? Yeah. So we're dying off bit by bit. All things must pass away. But we were there. And many were. And Gokulananda here as a testimony. So what was I going to say? Yes, during that summer months, Prabhupada said, I will stay here as long as you can bring me people to preach to. So Shamsundar was mixing with some kind of high echelons of society. The Hare Krishnas in the 60s and 70s, he had made a lot of contacts that kind of hit the wave, the kind of alternative culture movement. And there were politicians came here, journalists, a couple of lords from the House of Lords, racing drivers, pop stars, teachers, professors, all sorts of people. Shamsundar would get people to come and listen. Most of this is interviews and conversations. They're recorded. They're mostly recorded. So Shamsundar was very busy. And it's all in these books, these 3 books. There's a set you can get. So if you haven't got this set, or you want to just get one or get the set, I thoroughly recommend it. It's the history of the Hare Krishna movement, where it began in San Francisco, because it began in New York. Shamsundar picked it up in San Francisco, where he joined. But his adventures with Prabhupada, especially here in England, and especially with George Harrison. There's no better person to hear about George Harrison from the Hare Krishna perspective than Shamsundar. And a lot of his interactions are here. Well, all of them. Just put it all in there. So if you want to know more about George and the Hare Krishnas, catch your own rhinoceros and read it in this book. We don't have to. It's already been caught. You're just got to put the rhinoceros on your bookshelf. That's what you've got to do, and read it. It's a wonderful book. So I'm going to hand you over now to Trilokanath, who's going to do some numbers. And I hope you'll join in the Hare Krishna bits. And thank you for coming. There is a book table, as we say. And I hope you had a wonderful time. A splendid time is guaranteed for all. And Hare Krishna.
Right, I haven't got much to say, but I'll sing some songs. So this first one is off the Let It Be album, and is called I, Me, Mine. All through the day, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. All through the night, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. Now they're frightened of leaving it, everyone's weaving it, coming on strong all the time. All through the day, I, me, mine. 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 All I can hear, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. Everyone's frightened of playing it, everyone's saying it, flowing more freely than wine. All through the day, I me mine. 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 All I can hear, I me mine, I me mine, I me mine. Even those tears, I me mine, I me mine, I me mine. Now they're frightened of playing it, everyone's saying it, flowing more freely than wine. All through your life, I be mine. Thank you. Well, the next one goes a bit earlier, off an album, Beatles album called Rubber Soul. And the song is called Think for Yourself. You need to, I hope it's going to be loud enough. I got a word or two to say about the things that you do. You're telling all those lies about the good things that we can have if we close our eyes. Do what you want to do and go where you're going to. Think for yourself, 'cause I will be there with you. I left you far behind, the ruins of the life that you had in mind. And though you still can't see, I know your mind's made up, you're gonna cause more misery. Do what you want to do, and go where you're going to. Think for yourself, 'cause I will be there with you. Although your mind's opaque, try thinking more just for your own sake. And future still looks good, and we've got time to rectify all the things that you should. Do what you want to do, and go where you're going to. Think for yourself, 'cause I will be there with you. Do what you want to do, and go where you're going to. Think for yourself, 'cause I will be there with you. Think for yourself, 'cause I will be there with you. So this next song is off All Things Must Pass album. It's called Hear Me Lord. Hear those years when I ignored you. Forgive them, Lord, those that feel they can't afford you. Help me, Lord, please, to rise above this feeling. Help me, Lord, please, to love you with more feeling. At both ends of the road, to the left and the right, above and below us. Oh my Lord, there ain't no place where you ain't in. Oh, won't you hear me, Lord? Help me, Lord, please, to rise a little higher. Help me, Lord, please, to burn out this desire. Hear me, Lord. Hear me, Lord. Hear me, Lord. Hear me, Lord. Oh, won't you please, please hear me, Lord. My Lord, my Lord, my Lord. Oh, won't you please, please hear me, Lord. My Lord, my Lord, my Lord. Hear me, Lord. Hear me, Lord. Hear me, Lord. Me, Lord. My sweet Lord.
Hare Krishna. Oh. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So this is a song that features Hare Krishna, and half of you left already. You missed out. So this is George's famous My Sweet Lord song. We're all going to join in. And any one of you out there want to come on the stage and chant with us, you're most welcome. Anyone not feeling shy, come up on stage, chant Hare Krishna with us. And we're going to close the program with Hare Krishna. So don't waste the opportunity. Chant Hare Krishna and take some book before you go. And I look forward to seeing you again next year, hopefully, if the world allows us to. George evening, 29th of November next year. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. George Harrison ki jai.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long, my Lord. My sweet Lord. My Lord. My sweet Lord. I really want to know you. Really want to go with you. I really want to show you, Lord, that it won't take long, my Lord. My Lord. Hallelujah, my sweet Lord. I really want to see. Really want to see you, Lord. I really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long, my Lord. My sweet Lord. Oh, my Lord. My Lord. Now I really want to know you. Really want to go with you. Really want to show you, Lord, that it won't take long, my Lord. My sweet Lord. My Lord. Oh, my Lord. My sweet Lord. Oh, my Lord. My sweet Lord. Now I really want to see you. Really want to be with you. I really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long, my Lord. Oh, my sweet Lord. My sweet Lord. My Lord. My sweet Lord. My Lord. My sweet Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Hari Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Joy.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
So thank you so much for coming this evening, and especially to those who've never been here before, didn't know what to expect. Are any of you still here who've never been before? Oh, yes. Are you going to come again? Thank you very much. So the temple's open from 4:30 in the morning through till 9:30 at night. We don't always sing George Harrison songs here, but we always do chant Hare Krishna. So please come along, find out more about Krishna consciousness, get a book at the back here, and you're welcome to come anytime. Pleasure to meet you all. Thank you so much. Thank you to our long-standing friends who've been here before, and to all our newcomers, Hare Krishna.